A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Naika. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
2024 electoral list to be endorsed next week. Date for the presidential election to be announced this month. Election Commission issues a statement. Petition filed seeking a determination on the term of the executive president to be taken up for consideration tomorrow. The constitution is clear. President's term is limited to 5 years. Lawyers from the SJB and NPP stress that the election cannot be postponed.
මේව හැම දෙයක්ම ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය තමන් අර්ථ නිරූපණය කරලා ඉවරයි.
ජනතාව කිසිම වෙලාවක මේ කාරණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් චකිතයක් විචිකිච්ඡාවක් ඇති කරගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ.
Businessman Dhammika Pereira says that he is the only person who can develop the country. SLPP presidential candidate to be announced in a month. Postal workers to launch 48-hour strike. 200 trade unions from many sectors in the state service to engage in trade union action tomorrow and the day after. Sanat Jayasuriya named as interim head coach of Sri Lanka cricket. Former opposition leader AR Sanan bids adieu.
And now the stories in detail. The final rites of the leader of the Tamil National Alliance, parliamentarian AR Sanan, were observed at the Trincomalee Hindu Cemetery today. A veteran politician, AR Sanan, was also a former opposition leader. The mortal remains of AR Sanan were placed at his residence in Trincomalee for the general public to pay their final respects until 3:30 this evening. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Chief Opposition Whip Lakshman Kiriyala, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Santosh Jha, Governor of the Eastern Province Senthil Thundaman, and Tamil Nadu leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party Kuppusamy Annamale were among those who were present to pay their final respects.
I have lost a long-standing friend. I met him 50 years ago when he was a lawyer and I was a junior lawyer. He never demanded for a separate country. He always said that we must unite. He said that this issue must be resolved and that the Tamil people are suffering. We have got together and faced elections. We have also supported common candidates. He next came forward as the opposition leader. In that position, he showed his character. Not only did he speak about the issues of the Tamil people, he also spoke about the issues of Sri Lankans as the opposition leader. He acted as a true opposition leader. A proper opposition leader is an alternative prime minister. In 2018, during the crisis within the government, when I lost my position of prime minister, as the leader of the opposition, he showed true leadership. After I got the presidency, I discussed with him about this issue and I discussed it with their party as well. We have decided to hold the presidential election first. No matter who goes to court, the presidential election must be held this year. Afterwards, the parliamentary election will be held, followed by the provincial council elections.
උසාවියට ගියත් ජනාධිපති ඡන්දේ තියන්න මේ අවුරුද්දේ. පාර්ලිමේන්තු ඡන්දේ තියන්න ඊළඟට පළාත් සභා ඡන්දේ තියන්න.
The message of condolence was read by Chief Opposition Whip Lakshman Kiriyala.
He respected freedom, equality and brotherhood during his political career. He was a leader who believed that all communities in Sri Lanka should have equal rights.
Tamil Nadu leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party Kuppusamy Annamale also addressed the crowd.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi had posted on Facebook about a meeting that he had with AR Sanan 5 years ago. The Prime Minister had highlighted that Sanan told him that the Tamil community in Sri Lanka should get a fair solution to their issues. He is a person who had a vision, and that vision has not been realized yet. India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party is with you to provide support in realizing his vision.
The Election Commission said it will proclaim the date for the presidential election before the end of July. Chairman of the Election Commission RMAL Ratnayaka said the Commission will be vested with the power to proclaim the election after July 17th.
Chairman of the Election Commission RMAL Ratnayaka said that the Election Commission plans to proclaim the election within a week from the 17th of July. Meanwhile, the 2024 electoral list has been prepared. The chairman of the Election Commission said that the electoral list will be endorsed within the next week.
The People's Action for Free and Fair Elections, or PAFREL, said that legal action will be taken if the government attempts to postpone the election.
There is about a week left until the Election Commission is vested with the authority to proclaim the presidential election. We are confident that if the country's leaders act in accordance with the Constitution, there will be no obstacle in announcing the election in the first week of August. The Election Commission must hold the election before the 17th of October. This authority has been clearly granted to the Election Commission by the Constitution. We have already filed fundamental rights petitions related to the elections and the local government elections. If any government attempts to postpone these elections, we will not hesitate to take all legal action available.
A bench of 5 justices of the Supreme Court is set to consider the petition filed by an entrepreneur seeking an interim order to be issued on the Election Commission. The petitioner is seeking an order preventing the Election Commission from conducting the presidential election until the Supreme Court gives an interpretation on the date on which the term of the current president ends.
The petition filed by entrepreneur Chaminda Dayan Lenava will be taken up before a bench comprising of Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasuriya and Justices Vijit Malalgoda, Murdu Fernando, Preeti Padman Surasena and S. Thurai Raja. The petitioner is seeking an interim order from the Supreme Court preventing the Election Commission from conducting the presidential election until the Supreme Court gives an interpretation on the term of the president. The petition points out that the term of the president in Article 32 of the Constitution has not been properly amended by Article 82(6) of the Constitution under the 19th Amendment. The petitioner seeks an order from the Supreme Court preventing the chairman of the Election Commission, members of the Election Commission, as well as the Commissioner General of Elections from conducting the election until the petition is taken up and decided upon. The petitioner has also sought an order from court to determine that the presidential term is 6 years and for an order directing the Election Commission to hold the election after this time period lapses.
Is the president's term in office 6 years or is it 5 years? This is the stance of the Samagi Janabalawegya lawyers.
In the 1978 Constitution, the term of office of the President was limited to 6 years. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution was introduced during the presidency of Maithripala Sirisena. He was limited to a term of 5 years. Then the latest legal argument that has arisen is whether a referendum was held to reduce it. If someone who got power for 5 years is going to stay for 6 years, then a referendum should definitely be held because the sovereignty of the people is undermined there. But when a person reaches 6 years, he revises this to 5 years, then the sovereignty of the people will be given another chance. A referendum is not needed for that. All these things have been interpreted by the Supreme Court.
Maithripala Sirisena ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ වකවානුවේදී මේ වෙනස් වීමත්
During Maithripala Sirisena's term in office following the amendment, he consulted the courts about the length of the president's term. The Supreme Court then said that it was 5 years. According to the Constitution, the president's term in office is 5 years. The Supreme Court confirmed that. Against such a backdrop, we need to look into what the government is preparing to do.
දැන් මෙසේ තිබියදී ආණ්ඩුව මේ සැරසෙන්නේ කුමක්ද කියන එක අපි සලකලා බලන්න ඕන.
Can the president's term be extended by another year with the petition submitted to the Supreme Court? Lawyers of the National People's Power clarified these matters today.
මේ කාරණය මීට ඉස්සෙල්ලත් මේ වගේම මිනිස්සෙක් ඇවිල්ලා ඉවරලා
Previously, a man named Metsiri Silva filed a petition claiming that Maithripala Sirisena can stay in office till the 8th of January 2021. But a bench comprising of 3 justices said that this must be withdrawn. This petition should have been filed a month after the violation was done, but they are filing this petition 9 years after the amendment was passed. We saw the president saying, no, I'm only going to stay in office for 5 years. He also said that neither he nor his team of lawyers were consulted when this action was filed. The people of this country should understand that a new president will be elected by the 17th of November. An election must be held between the 17th of September and the 17th of October. Therefore, this is certain. The general public should not at any point have any doubt about it. If the people of this country want a new leader and a new government, there is only 4 months left for that. And that is certain.
අලුත් රාජ්‍ය පාලනයක් ඒකට තව මාස 4යි තියෙන්නේ. ඒක ඉස්සිරයි.
Former chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, today stressed that the presidential election cannot be postponed under any circumstances.
The presidential election cannot be postponed under any circumstance. A case has been filed in court, but I will not intervene in that matter. Additionally, several decisions have been made. No matter how much of effort is put in to try and postpone the election, those attempts will ultimately fail. They will fail in court, they will fail in parliament, and they will definitely fail among the people. The election will be held. The people's rights have been taken away from them twice in Sri Lanka, with the local government election and the provincial council election being postponed. No one will allow this election to be taken away.
MP Jayantha Samaravira had this to say.
Ranil Wickremesinghe ජනාධිපතිවරයා කෙසේ හෝ ජනාධිපතිවරණය කල්දා ගැනීමේ වෑයමක් තියෙන බව ඉතා පැහැදිලියි.
It is very clear that President Ranil Wickremesinghe is attempting to postpone the presidential election. Earlier, Maithripala Sirisena also made a similar proposal to court to postpone the election. The court has already issued a very clear interpretation in this regard. Despite this, they have gone to court again. Therefore, we would like to inform the people of the country that there will be no postponement of this presidential election. They cannot do it. The people of this country will not allow it.
කරන්න බෑ. ඒක කරන්න මේ රටේ ජනතාව ඉඩ දෙන්නෙත් නෑ.
Member of the National Executive Council of the National People's Power, K.D. Lalkantha, stressed that the president's term in office cannot be extended.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහගේ දූර කාලය
Ranil Wickremesinghe's term in office ends on the 17th of November. According to the constitution, a president must be appointed before his term ends. Before his term ends on the 17th of November, if a new president is not appointed, the entire legal system will collapse. The country cannot operate after the 17th of November. Therefore, a new president must be appointed before this date. He was appointed for a term of 5 years. On a Saturday between the 17th of September and the 17th of October, the presidential election must be held. To do so, nominations must be called in August. The Election Commission will proclaim that date after the 17th of July.
මේ මාසේ 17න් පස්සේ
The Deputy Chairman of the United National Party, Ruwan Wijewardena, confirmed that President Ranil Wickremesinghe will contest the presidential election.
There are rumors circulating suggesting a postponement of the presidential election. However, I want to assure you that a presidential election will definitely be held. Ranil Wickremesinghe will contest as an independent candidate at this election.
The Samagi Janabalawegil says that it is against its principles to come to power through conspiracies. The Gampaha District Janapawara rally of the SJB was held at the Gampaha Municipal Council grounds today.
We did not join the SJB after seeing the wave of support for the party. We joined long before that wave of support began. We believe that Sajith Premadasa is a lot more suitable for the presidency than Ranil Wickremesinghe, who has come into power through a distortion of parliament. No matter the snare set by Ranil Rajapaksa, the presidential election will be held, and we are sure of it. Ranil only knows how to do three things: take loans, impose taxes, and sell national assets. So if you want more taxes, if you want to increase the country's debt, and if you want to sell more state property, choose Mr. Wickremesinghe. If you wish to reduce the cost of goods, increase your income, and reduce the debt burden on the country, and to take this country forward without corruption, then you need to choose Sajith Premadasa and the Samagi Jana Balawegaya. It is after 30 years that we are able to elect the leader of our party as the head of the state. We have lost this opportunity since 1994. It was Ranil Wickremesinghe who deprived us of this opportunity. Now we have a clean leader. We will finally be able to do what we had been waiting for 30 years. However, to do this, we need your support, and you need to come forward.
Ranil
Wickremesinghe was our former leader, but now he has no team. He is left with no one, and there is no one to do any work. They even don't have the ability to stop the outflow of money to foreign countries for the purchase of eggs.
කල්පනා කරලා බලන්න මේ අය රටක් පාලනය කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා.
අපි දියුණු වෙන රටකින් දියුණු වෙච්ච රටකට පාත බන්න නම් ඒ 2000.
If we are to graduate from a developing country to a developed country, if we are to make this country a developed country by 2040, we need to develop this country by 12% each year. We believe that our country can do this. We will support Sajith Premadasa as the president, and we will drive this country towards this goal.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා හැටියට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඔහුගේ කණ්ඩායම හැටියට ඔහුට ශක්තිය දීලා වැඩ කරන්න.
අද එමනම් බොරුතු පිටින් බැඳෙනවා.
Now they are coming here all together. Already 11 of them have joined us. During the next 2 weeks, 12 more parliamentarians who are free from corruption will join the Samagi Jana Alliance. We will build the most formidable alliance in the country. When all the Tamil and Muslim parliamentarians in the country join us, I would like to inform you that a total of 35 will be joining our party, and we will make this the biggest alliance in the country.
Sri Lanka අපිට පේනවා ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ තිබෙන සිදුරු සොයාගන්න එක.
We can see that finding loopholes in the constitution has become the national service rendered by the current leader and his supporters. Remember that this is an interim president and not a president who was elected by the people. He has no sympathy for the general public. The only ambition of this leader is to protect the team of thieves who robbed this country and brought him into power. He cannot come into power through another presidential election. Every report states that they have no chance. Because of that, they are trying to violate the constitution through a third party, and I would like to inform you that we will defeat all of these attempts with the power of the people.
මේ කුප්‍රකට බලතන්හා කුමන්ත්‍රණය ජන සවියෙන් ජන බලයෙන් අපි පරාජය කරනවා කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna parliamentarian Dhammika Perera claims that he is the only one that can rebuild the country. He expressed these views at an award ceremony at the DP Education IT campus in Anuradhapura.
The largest political party in Sri Lanka is the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. If you want to make a difference, you can only win by developing comprehensive strategies, presenting them transparently and acting ethically. Elections aren't just about winning, they're about choosing a leader who can unite people. Remember, you can't do any of it if you're with another party. 60 days is enough for me to tell you how to rebuild the country. If the leaders of all political parties can come together, share ideas, and prioritize finding a leader who can unite the country, even if that candidate isn't from their own party, then that would be a significant step forward. In such a scenario, the selection process might take about a month. If I am chosen as the candidate, I am confident that I can collaborate with everyone, including all the leaders, to develop a comprehensive plan for national progress.
මම පොදු ජන පරමුණත් එක්ක තමයි ඉන්නේ මම ඉදිරියේදී දේශපාලනය කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා ඒ ඩිසිෂන් එක ගත්තට පස්සේ තමයි ඒක කරන්න ඕනේ.
The program to distribute leaflets at the Moratua town conducted by the People's Struggle Alliance continued for the second day today. The protest and awareness program organized by the People's Struggle Alliance against the current economic situation in the country was held for the second day today. The awareness program was conducted from Kandy to Nitambua. A march was also launched from Moratua this morning. The police informed protesters that they cannot continue on their march using loudspeakers and in a manner that inconveniences the general public. The police informed the protesters that prior permission from the police had not been obtained.
This is not how we as the People's Struggle Alliance wanted to address you today. Our intention is not to clash with the police officers here. We know that they have been given orders to prevent what happened yesterday from happening here today. Ranil Wickremesinghe is saying that since there is an election, everyone needs to tighten their belts and that salaries cannot be increased. The Pohotua said that if the election is postponed, they will take to the streets. It is the two parties within the government who are saying these things. While they are saying this, the government is trying to postpone the election and the opposition is counting the days until the election is held. In the end, there are no solutions to the issues of the country. We have come here today with the people of this country to begin the discussion on how we can take the country forward without being a puppet of the IMF and India while protecting our national assets.
The power of the people.
Stuck inside their homes, yearning for connection. That's what life was like for families in Kolayaya and Aldenia villages. But with the foundation laid for a bridge, these communities can finally come together, opening doors to a brighter future.
Over 200 trade unions representing various public service sectors in Sri Lanka have announced a two-day strike calling in sick from tomorrow. This trade union action will be launched citing concerns including the failure to increase the government executive officer allowance to 25,000 rupees.
What are the unions involved in this trade union?
What are the sectors that will be affected by this trade union action? The collective of state and provincial state services trade unions said that about 1 million of their members will call in sick tomorrow and the day after.
Our rulers and authorities must understand that these measures will be reversed only if the presented demands are met. Ranil is currently refusing to raise the state sector employees' salaries. In response, we demand disallowance of 25,000 rupees. Therefore, we urge all other public service departments to immediately suspend non-essential services. We will determine our next steps based on the government's response.
Over 20,000 postal workers across Sri Lanka's 4,700 post offices and sub-offices launched a trade union action this afternoon.
Postal workers across the country will stage a symbolic 48-hour strike starting tomorrow. The strike action will begin at 4 p.m. today at the Colombo Central Mail Exchange. In all other locations, the trade union action will begin at midnight today.
The Health Trade Union Alliance alleges that the President's statement on the limitations to increasing their salaries due to the election is baseless.
How are the elections and our salaries related? The funds required for the election is about 9 to 10 billion. Ranil Wickremesinghe claiming that the election is the reason he can't increase salaries is a joke.
The All Ceylon Nurses Union said it will not join the two-day strike that will be launched. Chief Secretary S.B. Madhivathar said such a strike will inconvenience the sick. The Ceylon Teachers Union said that although teachers will report to work as usual tomorrow, they will be staging a trade union action by reporting sick leave on the 9th of July.
In a coordinated effort, the collective of state and provincial state services trade unions have called on all teachers and principals across the country to participate in a sick leave strike starting from the 9th of July.
The Ministry of Education has advised principals to continue school activities next week with the support of parents. In response to the trade union action to be implemented from tomorrow, Ministry Secretary Tilaka Jayasundara said that this decision was made to ensure uninterrupted school activities. The university non-academic staff will engage in a trade union action on the 8th and 9th of July.
To implement the National Non-Academic Service Policy and the National Transfer Policy, we will be taking trade union action on the 8th and the 9th. We have scheduled a discussion with the relevant authorities on the 8th. We have only exempted security and hostel services from this. The trade union action will be effective on the 8th and 9th. During this period, only security and hostel services will not be affected and function normally. Following our discussion with the Ministry of Education on the 8th, we will make a decision on the future of these services based on the outcome of the discussion.
Nearly 12,000 Gram Nildari officers working in 14,022 Gram Nildari divisions across Sri Lanka are supporting the trade union action that will be implemented tomorrow. This is what they had to say.
Are the executive officers the only ones feeling the burden of the economic crisis? The government and political parties have remained silent on the demands of the Grama Niladhari Officers Union for a service constitution specific to the Grama Niladhari officers. Our request for an interim allowance until the allowance committee's decision is implemented in the budget has been ignored. In response to this neglect, the Sri Lanka Grama Niladhari Officers Union is joining the strike action taking place tomorrow and the day after.
The peaceful protest in Thimirigasyaya still continues. Every Sunday for over 2 years, residents have gathered on either side of the road, holding signs and demanding system change.
Every week, people take to the streets of Colombo, demanding good governance and a corruption-free future. Today marks the 292nd day of this peaceful protest.
The most important topic that everyone is talking about is elections. Elections which are due elections which should be held as per our constitution. Now we see President Ranil Wickremesinghe up to his own tricks. He uses members of his party, his acolytes, to come out and speak about postponement of elections. It's not necessary to have elections. We should postpone them. Then we see the president saying, no, elections should not be postponed. They should be held as per the election, what the election commissioner says. Within 5 years, it should be held. What is this? Who does the president think he's fooling?
We keep hearing all kinds of stories about various tactics being used to postpone elections. If you think you are the best person for this country, hold elections. Stop being frightened. It is our constitutional right to have a vote and an election. So we want elections now.
The Sunday Times published a report revealing that Sri Lanka loses 350 million rupees worth of its rich fisheries resources on a daily basis to the entry of illegal mechanized bottom trawlers operated by Indian fishermen.
The report on the Sunday Times states that a cabinet note prepared by the Fisheries Ministry revealed that Sri Lanka loses 350 million rupees worth of its rich fisheries resources on a daily basis in the Northern Territorial waters due to the entry of at least 500 illegal mechanized bottom trawlers operated by Indian fishermen. The note pointed out that in recent years, the fisheries sector has faced a huge issue, especially in the northern waters, due to illegal entry by Indian trawlers. According to the report, at least 500 Indian vessels enter Sri Lanka's territory and engage in bottom trawling in the northern waters. Each trawler boat catches about 1,000 kilograms of fish and prawns from these waters, and at least 3 days a week, an average of 900 Indian trawlers enter the northern waters. Meanwhile, the Fisheries Ministry has directed its scientific research agency, the National Aquatic Resource Research and Development Agency, also known as NARA, to carry out a comprehensive study on the socio-economic and environmental impact of illegal bottom trawling fishing activities in the northern waters. According to the report, Minister of Fisheries Douglas Devananda said that he had raised the issue with the Indian External Affairs Minister and both parties had agreed to fast-track the joint committee-level discussions at the earliest in order to address the pressing issues.
Economic experts are warning of a potential risk to Sri Lanka's foreign reserves due to a widening import-export trade deficit. In the first 5 months of 2024, the cost of imports reached $7.24 billion, a significant increase compared to the same period last year. However, the export earnings were only $5.07 billion during that time. This represents a 12% increase in the trade deficit compared to 2023. With the controversies mounting on the manner in which state-owned enterprises are being handled, a brand new controversy has arisen surrounding the Mattal International Airport. The morning newspaper reported of this controversy, and the report highlights details about a rogue deal in selecting a Russian-Indian joint venture to run the operations at the Mattala Mahinda Rajapaksa Airport.
Last year, the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, on behalf of the Airport and Aviation Services Sri Lanka Limited, called for expression of interests from prospective investors to develop both direct and indirect aviation-related business ventures at the Mahinda Rajapaksa International Airport. According to the report published on the morning newspaper, the decision to hand over the management of the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport to a joint venture between Indian and Russian firms has sparked controversy, with the emergence of allegations of a rogue deal and concerns about transparency in the selection process, raising questions about the airport's future. As per the expression of interest document published by Airport and Aviation Services Limited, the EOI's targeted ventures such as maintenance, repairs and overhaul services, flying schools, aerospace engineering schools, aircraft spare manufacturing, renewable energy projects, resort hotels, industrial parks and logistics services. However, a senior official was quoted by the morning newspaper saying, quote-unquote, Initially, EOIs were solicited for 4 separate categories of operations, yet for reasons unknown, the management decided to request proposals from the bidders to operate the entire Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport, effectively transforming the tender into a limited and potentially biased process. The report adds that the official emphasized that if a single company wished to manage all operations, the process should have been an open tender to ensure fairness and competition. The senior official is quoted in the article to have said, instead of a fair process, the sudden shift to a limited tender excluded many potential large-scale management companies capable of handling such a significant project. The report also adds that the urgency of the deal has added to the controversy, as the agreements are expected to be signed within 1 or 2 weeks following the cabinet decision, and the terms of the deal have also raised significant concerns. The report on the morning goes on to note that the Airport Aviation Services Limited chairman Atula Galketia refuted allegations of irregularities in the selection process and said that the company floated an EOI and the request for proposal after selecting the prospective bidder with the necessary qualifications.
General C.S. Veerasooriya's memoir, Duty and Devotion, the unfiltered story of a general and ambassador, was launched today.
General C.S. Veerasooriya's memoir, Duty and Devotion, the unfiltered story of a general and ambassador, was launched today at the St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. General C.S. Veerasooriya, a former commander of the Sri Lanka Army and former Sri Lankan High Commissioner to Pakistan, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, weaves the story of his life from 1963 to 2007 into the larger tapestry of the nation's journey from the hopeful beginning of independence to the complexities of the war. The memoir that was launched was read out by family and friends.
St. Thomas's, the beach, the small club grounds, and the plot of land in front of our home covered in thick shrub jungle called Kurunwata.
At the beginning, General described his childhood impressions of his grandparents whom he had adored.
Many captains who were senior to me in the army had refused this appointment, as Mana was known as the Siberia of Sri Lanka.
The plane was carrying a number of bodies of soldiers killed in action, as well as some wounded persons and those proceeding on leave and, of course, duty.
The LTTE moved the civilian population towards Mudaitu in the east, primarily to serve as a human shield. Meanwhile, government forces came south from Muhammadiyah and recaptured Elephant Pass.
Warden of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, Reverend Mark Billy Morial, was the chief guest of the event.
General Veerasooriya himself, as you have already heard, was commander of the army at a very decisive moment in the history of our country during the height of the Civil War. And we all know that he discharged his duty with integrity and honor, duty and devotion. And so as we launch this autobiography today, I have great pleasure in commending it to all those who will be interested in reading not only about the recent history of our country, but also the insights of one who has been part and parcel of it with such integrity over the many years of service.
Former Governor of the Northern Province, HMGS Palihakkara, was the keynote speaker and guest of honor of the event.
We have a drought of constructive, visionary leadership. Despite the knowledge about what to do has been continually reigning, we have a drought of leadership. Sri Lal has uttered some prophetic words. Hopefully that message will in turn highlight the imperative of introspection, I repeat, for all of us at both national and individual level, and shine a light on ways forward for our crisis-ridden nation.
General Vijay Surya offered insights into his experiences, drawing from his memoir.
I began writing when I returned from Pakistan in 2007. I don't say that writing, but I was scribbling. As a means of documenting my experiences, it took me the better part of 12 to 15 years to write my memories down. The intention was to leave something for my children and grandchildren to read and know of the days gone by and how life was in Sri Lanka before. I did not intend to write a book and certainly not want to be published. There are a lot of secrets in there. When I visited my daughter Rushika in the States a few years ago, she's here. She began to read what I had written and encouraged me to write more and finish the story.
In celebration of the Korea Week 2024, the Korean Embassy in Sri Lanka hosted the Korean Ambassadors Cup Taekwondo Championship and a K-pop World Festival in Colombo today.
The Korean Embassy in Sri Lanka kicked off Korea Week 2024 with a dynamic double feature. Today, Colombo witnessed the thrilling Korean Ambassadors Cup Taekwondo Championship and the electrifying K-pop World Festival. Taekwondo enthusiasts showcased their skills and discipline at the final rounds of the Korean Ambassadors Cup Taekwondo Championship. Korean Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Meon Lee, also attended the event. The Korean ambassador to Sri Lanka then attended the K-pop festival held in celebration of Korea's globally acclaimed music industry, with stunning choreography and charismatic performances of K-pop fans in Sri Lanka. Korea Week is an annual event that complements the long-standing cultural ties between Korea and Sri Lanka.
Moving on to news overseas, Sir Keir Starmer is due to visit Scotland later in his first trip to the country since becoming Prime Minister.
Scotland will be his first stop on a tour of the United Kingdom, and he is expected to meet First Minister John Sweeney. After holding his first cabinet meeting on Saturday, Sir Keir announced he will travel to all 4 nations in the UK before flying to Washington for a NATO meeting on Tuesday. He said, quote-unquote, "For the first time in 20 plus years, we have a majority in England, in Scotland and in Wales, and that is a clear mandate to govern all 4 corners of the United Kingdom." After travelling to Scotland, Sir Keir will travel to Northern Ireland, then to Wales and then back to England. Meanwhile, Umar Kumaran, a British national of Sri Lankan descent who was elected as the first MP of Stratford and Bow in the United Kingdom, had this to say after her victory.
Clearly, today is a remarkable and historic victory for the Labour Party. But this isn't the end. This is only just the beginning. The work starts now to turn the page on 14 years of failure and to forge a brighter, fairer future for our communities, just as a previous generation did for mine. I was born here in East London. I am the daughter of Tamil refugees and the child of a community that knows what it's like to endure prejudice and persecution. I will always stand up and fight for what is fair and what is right. Britain welcomed my parents with open arms to rebuild their lives and to flourish. This is the London I know and this is the London I love. This is the story of Britain and British values at its best.
France is voting in one of its most significant elections in years, with the far right hoping for a historic victory, but with political stalemate the more likely result.
This is the first time the Anti-Immigration National Rally, or the RN, of the Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella has had a realistic chance of running the government and taking outright control of the National Assembly. But after the RN's first round victory in snap parliamentary elections last Sunday, more than 200 rival candidates dropped out to give others a better chance of defeating the far right. The first exit polls will be released later today. The 2-round election came as a shock to a country gearing up for the start of Paris Olympics on the 26th of July. Security was already tight and now 30,000 police have been deployed for a period of heightened political tension.
And in sports news, former Sri Lankan captain Jayasuriya has been named as the interim head coach of the Sri Lanka men's national cricket team.
While Sri Lanka cricket continues their search for Chris Silverwood's replacement for head coach, Sanath Jayasuriya will take over the job in interim for the home series against India and the test tour to England. Chris Silverwood recently resigned as the head coach of the Sri Lankan national team, citing personal reasons. Jayasuriya joined the team at this year's T20 World Cup as consultant.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.